Brain Injury Awareness Month, and joining me with what you need to know is Dr. Josephine Combs. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us just about this month and why it's important to raise awareness for this.
Yeah, brain injury is something that can affect anybody. Obviously, we never want anyone to get hurt or be injured, but it's one of those injuries that can really have big impact because our brain is who we are. It makes up for everything, and so acquiring an injury that can affect that can alter lives forever. And so knowing what to do, knowing what to look for, and also how to prevent it is a very worthy cause for awareness.
Yeah, and so brain injuries, is that like a wide range of, severity to less severe? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. Brain injuries is basically an umbrella term.
Yeah.
So we distinguish between acquired brain injuries and congenital, so what's happening before birth, and then acquired would be anything after someone is born. And even with the acquired category, there's a wide range of things that can go wrong, whether it's an internal, like an autoimmune disease or an infectious disease that can impact or alter brain tissue, as well as an acquired, meaning a traumatic brain injury, which is usually the most frequent, the most common one that can occur. So when you think of traumatic brain injuries, think of like accidents. Often, like another term, for example, for a mild traumatic brain injury is the word concussion, that often gets associated with athletes. The interesting thing, though, is that it's not limited to sports. It can happen to anybody, anywhere. Car accident, slip and fall, home DIY project gone wrong, work, it really doesn't matter, because the way we are built is intended to protect our brain, but unfortunately it's not fail-proof.
Yeah, and if people are maybe experiencing this, what are some symptoms maybe to look out for?
Anytime there was a big blow or jolt to the body, it's always good to pay attention. The most common signs and symptoms are typically headache, feeling very tired, feeling fatigued, often also accompanied by some dizziness or feeling off balance. Nausea can also happen, sometimes even vomiting. And if something feels off, if something doesn't feel normal, it's always a good idea to get it checked out.
Yeah, and like you said, get it checked out. What else can people do if they maybe feel these symptoms and are just wondering? What are some tips you have for them?
Absolutely. The first 24 to 48 hour symptoms often develop. So we see this especially with car accidents. Initially, people at the scene think, I'm okay, I think I'm good. And then the next day or two, they start feeling more and more. And that's definitely when even if it's not the day of the accident, we always encourage people to get checked out if they are symptomatic, if they don't feel right, because research has shown that less time to evaluation, so going in sooner actually has a better chance of a quick recovery.
And what are some things you guys do to evaluate that?
Yeah, so it depends on access to care. Some people go to the emergency room, especially if the symptoms are severe or right when it happens. Acute care, some people start with their primary care physician or pediatrician. We also have individuals that already are very familiar with Stanford's Concussion Clinic and go straight there. So it kind of depends on location and access. If people come to our concussion clinic, usually we start by an in-depth interview to learn how it happened, what happened, get a really good feel for where they're at and what they're working with. And then we do a series of assessments where we look at their neurocognitive functioning, like how can they think, process, remember, those kind of things. We also always want to make sure that we check their vision and balance, because that can be affected by a brain injury, and sometimes that gets overlooked, especially if people aren't quite sure. Like if my eyes aren't working properly, I blink a couple times and try again. I don't think about that a whole lot, but if it's in combination with an accident, it can definitely be related. For sure. Once they've completed all those tests with me, we'll meet together and basically have what we call feedback, where we talk about the results, the recommendations, what do you need from a recovery standpoint, and then we'll go through that recovery plan together, and so they know exactly what steps are next when they leave.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and raising awareness for this.
Thank you.
And stick around, we do have more after the break.